What's going on, NBL Network? We are live. YouTube.com/Madden Bomber League for the Commissioner Corner podcast, episode number 67. I'm joined alongside my co-host, Lip Ripper. You know him as Lip, L-I-P-P. What's going on in the building here on this November 13th for episode 67? We got a big show in line for you today. We're going to obviously do our Bleacher Report recap. We're going to go 10 hours back. We got new faces, new places. We're going to catch up with how they're doing on their new teams. And that's right, that's featuring Andrew Luck and Tyree Jackson, even though Jackson was with the Patriots for a season before his starting situation that took place here in NBL Season 42. Let me know how it looks and sounds in the chat, guys. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us in the building so far. Let me give some shout-outs. Teddy J, Robert Miller, Dubes, Brad, Rusta Busta, Cert coming off a big win in the building as well. And also, we're going to do some rise and fall of a couple teams if we think they're going to be able to maintain where they were at last year, or if they're just going to completely fall off. We'll talk about that. We're also going to go over the Bleacher Report division predictions that they gave at the beginning of the season. Lip, what's going on? How is your day going so far here on this beautiful November 13th?
Oh, it's always a great day whenever we get to jump on here and talk a little bit about NBL and everything that's going on. It's a great season because we're getting to that part of the cycle where everybody's kind of moving off. We're bringing in quarterbacks, and that's a big position change in the NBL. It happens quite a bit, so we're going to talk about it, get right into that. And like I said, it's always a great day. I'm very excited to talk about how these guys are doing in their different uniforms.
All right, Lib, did we get an audio check? Make sure everything's sounding good. I don't want anything messed up before we start the show.
Am I loud? Guys in the chat, am I loud enough? Hello, Train.
What's going on, Train, in the building right now?
I'm going to see Train tomorrow.
You're going to see Train? Yeah, y'all are going to a game. Porter's going to it as well, right?
Porter, Star.
Z-Star's going? Oh,
yep.
Wow, nice.
He's currently talking about his flight, so
he might not make it.
Works. He's 50% on catching flights. So
well, actually, he's 0%. He didn't catch a flight to Virginia Beach. Remember?
Oh, he did. Oh, yeah, he
drove.
did drive.
Yeah,
so he's 0 for 1 on
he's not looking good. Let's get right into the program right now. We're going to talk about some Bleacher Report recap. We're just going to go 10 hours back because we got a full show ahead of us tonight, and we're going to start with Patrick Mahomes. Been tomahawk chopping was the word that the Bleacher Report said. Against NBL defenses, 17 touchdowns, only 17 incompletions through 5 games. 5 receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs have scored a touchdown, which is the same amount of total passing touchdowns for both the Raiders and the Broncos. I mean, that's a cheap dig right there. Yeah, we get it. That division is pretty terrible. And we really shouldn't be comparing passing statistics between people within that division. It's just not right. It feels bad. I'm leaving it alone. I didn't even realize that last part was in there. I would have skipped the tweet. But that was a low blow Bleacher Report. We do not have to go after Raiders and the Broncos, even though the Broncos are the son to the Oakland Raiders, as the Raiders swept them this year. Clean sweep, 2-0.
Ooh. That Raiders team's getting better.
There it is. I'm just waiting for an audio check. Anybody says, Lip, you are loud enough.
Yeah,
Audio's good from both you peeps. All right, great. All right, guys. It didn't sound like it did last time, huh?
No, I think I'm a lot better this week.
All right, cool.
Now
all right.
You've patched your whatever that was.
I don't know what I did. All right, Frank Clark worth giving up a top 20 pick for the Miami Dolphins? Clark only has 3 sacks. Oh, like we're surprised. While being paid a top dollar pass rusher. Some wonder if the Michigan alum will be released at the end of the season due to poor performance. And I'll tell you what, he's got 3 sacks. He had 1 versus me in a complete blowout at the end of the game. It was a cover 0, and he just came free. So it wasn't. He didn't do anything during the game that...
Not impactful.
Exactly. He didn't do anything in a 3-4-man rush where he beats his man by getting outside and then he comes with some heat, right? It was just an untouched, came through. Anybody in that situation, it just... My line just didn't pick it up. It was a 6-man rush and we didn't pick the guy up. That was it. So...
Hey, I took a good amount of... I took about half and half, it seemed, of a split from the responses when this trade went down that taken... Off the top of my head, I want to say it was like $11 million in cap penalty, 3 sacks, I mean, the guy just was not worth it, and it's kind of playing out that way in Miami. So I'm fine with that $11 million because I get that $26 million off my hands next season, and even $28 the season after that. So I'm happy with where we're at in Kansas City.
Yeah, you look at the Miami Dolphins defense, pass rush against the pass, they're worst in the NBL. They're giving up 331 yards in the air per game. They have a good rush defense, but I don't know if that's just a product of a terrible pass defense. There's only so many yards you're going to get in a game, and right now this Miami Dolphins team is giving up 32 points per game. That puts them 31st. 31st in total yards per game at 377.4. Nearly 400 yards every game this Miami Dolphins team is giving up, and they traded a top 20 pick for an expensive defensive end in Frank Clark. Let's go ahead and move forward just a little bit. Free agent signing of Julio Jones, not mentioned in that picture though. That is not Julio Jones. Has given the Raiders fans something to cheer about in NBL Season 42. As his 481 yards is more than the other top three wide receivers combined. Oh, he's telling on him here. While he is accounting for 38.3% of the catches and 48.8% of the yards, it doesn't change the fact that the black hole is 2-3, which it does change the fact that the black hole is now 2-3, because without Julio Jones, what do you think they'd be sitting at right now? 0-5? They'd probably play 5 games and somehow end up 0-6. That's how pathetic the Oakland Raiders have been. But with Julio Jones, big signing. With Jared Goff, big signing. You're starting to see this offense start to cook there in Oakland, and I understand both of their wins came against the Broncos, but they were competing. They had a game against the Eagles that they just lost in Week 5. They were only down 14-7 in the fourth quarter. A miscommunication on a throw could have been a difference in tying the game up. They end up losing 21-7.
Yeah, Julio Jones made a big impact, especially in those 2 wins against the Broncos. He had 7 catches, 148, and a touchdown. The first matchup, 6 receptions for 110 and a touchdown in the second one. And that was a tight game, 12-10. So that was a huge touchdown. It was the only touchdown for the Raiders. Put them in the spot to win.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. We always talk about whenever you're building teams, you're trying to get somewhere, you start winning games in the division, and then you can start looking at wild card, and then you can start looking at winning the division and just build from there. And that's the place to start, is sweeping a team within the division. Yeah,
and you got a couple people in the chat just saying, who is this fat guy on the screen? This receiver. I don't know about the pictures.
That's a tight end.
Is Goff worth what they paid, though? Right now, Jared Goff. Lip, go ahead and pull up Goff stats.
I like Goff because, in Oakland, they haven't had a lot of success at the quarterback position, but completing 60% of his throws, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
Relatively speaking, that is good. That is very good.
Exactly. Quarterback rating of 80, that's pretty good for what Oakland has had in the past. So I think I'm never.
And let's play a little takeaway here. If you take away Week 3, in which they got demolished by the Los Angeles Chargers and Gibbs, he had 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he was sacked 9 times. If you take that away, right? So he's obviously getting hurried the entire game. If you take those 3 picks away, you're looking at a guy that's 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he'd be sitting at a 2-2 record. He's had one really bad game. And outside of that, he's been pretty solid for a team that needs that stability at the quarterback position. So, yeah, is he making a lot of money? Well, he's making $36 million right now. That seems to be the going rate for quarterbacks. I know it myself. Just had to pay Deshaun Watson. Yeah. That's about where it is. Lip's going to have to pay Patrick Mahomes. That's about where it is. You're going to be paying these guys close to $40 million. So, Goff, 86 overall, star dev, 26 years young. I think he's been phenomenal for this team. And I'm not going to give up on the Raiders making that signing just yet. Yeah. Let's go ahead and move forward. All right, go ahead. What do you got?
Last thing on Goff, though. That contract came, he was in free agency. So this wasn't like he was on this team demanding that much. The market there's some teams interested in him, and they had to kind of pay, to get him. So it's not like they just straight out overpaid. They had to fight the market on it to get their guy. And I'm not going to judge a team or a guy 5 games into this season. And like you said, I just want to point out 2 games. The QBR was 119 and 120, so he's doing.
Dude, we got to cut the Raiders talk. I mean, we've gone over. We're not allowed to talk about Raiders and NBL Commissioner Corner podcast, episode 68. They'll be back episode 69. Shout out to Sclam. Here we go. Bleacher Report reported just hours ago, after carrying the Jets to a division title just 2 seasons ago, the 29-year-old LeVeon Bell has been replaced by rookie halfback Harmon Beamer Benzer Bentley. The third-round pick ranks top 5 in rushing and is coming off his best game of the year against the Colts, 170 yards and 4 tutties. Just like that, the New York Jets are back, and LeVeon Bell is probably going to be finding himself a new home at the end of this season.
Yeah, this is extremely poor management here by the Jets. They could have moved Le'Veon Bell at some point this season. There absolutely would have been a buyer for him. The cap penalty is 12.5, but what they did was they cut other people. They had too much cap penalty this year. They cut too many small guys. They didn't allow themselves to make a play for this, and I'm not sure that I think he's got one more year after this. He might be able to move. I'm not sure if Daddy Leagues is reading that correctly. It says 2 years left, so they might be able to make a play next year. So, but at 30, the value that you're going to get for him is going to drop back a little bit. So I think that they could have made a move before the season started and really got that deal done.
But they made a big-time trade with the Washington Redskins to shore up their defensive front. And so far, even though the Jets are 4-1, but look at their defense. Against the pass, they're 26. Against the rush, they're 11th. And they went and they hauled in a ton of defensive linemen from Jonathan Allen. And there was another one they brought in as well, a D-end or a D-tackle. Let me see what they got. They ended up bringing in Jonathan Allen from the Redskins. And there was one more that I'm missing here. I can't find him right now. I don't see him on the roster. It's not sticking out to me. But they went out and tried to shore up the defensive line, and so far it just hasn't paid dividends for them. But I think you're right. They could have got some value in Le'Veon Bell that's going to be drastically decreased at the end of this season because he's a 30-year-old halfback, and that's pretty much the cutoff date for halfbacks playing football in the NBL. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. Russell Wilson is like a fine scotch, as he is only getting better with age for the Seattle Seahawks. The quarterback has led his team to a 5-0 record. Now, Lip, as of right now, right at this moment, 6-0.
Boom.
How great has Russell Wilson been for this Seattle Seahawks team? He's got the dynamic duo. We saw Skip Bayless tweet about it. The dynamic duo of DK Metcalf and what's his name? Oh, yeah, Tyler Lockett. That's right. And then you can throw in a little Jack Doyle as well if you want to spread on there. But these are two guys you don't think of. So even when I know their names, it's hard for me to remember them because I don't think of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett being this dynamic duo. But if you really look at the stats and you put pen to paper and you look at the Seattle Seahawks team, they're going to go as those receivers go. And right now they're going deep and they're scoring a lot of points, even though they didn't versus the Bears. But their defense is playing well and they got that ability, that big play ability that they haven't had throughout this whole cycle. It's all starting to come together for Seattle.
Yeah, if you take a look at Russell Wilson, 2 years ago, 71 completion percentage, 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, QBR of 123. They won the division at 9-7. This year, not quite as great, but still that QBR at 127 is the big thing. And Russell Wilson's playing really, really good football. And they're 6-0. And we talked about this is the division that's going to kind of cycle through. You know, each year or so, we're going to see a different winner. And we had the Seahawks, then we had the Cardinals last year, and now we're looking like we're going to get the Seahawks because right now, nobody else in that division is even above 500. So this is Seattle's division, and we've seen this division, the history of NBL. Somebody gets out into a lead, and then they kind of crumble. It would not surprise me if the Seahawks ended up winning this division at 9-7 or 10-6 because just about the history of that division.
I feel like
it always plays out.
Also, with the history of that division, 6-0, they would have to completely crumble to spoil that division title right now. It'd be nearly impossible, but they could really fall off and end up being that 4 seed in the NFC. I wouldn't be surprised. All right, the left tackle, the LT, Devontae DeBow, has been excellent from the jump. He was the number 1 overall pick in the NBL Season 42 rookie draft. Bucks are currently sitting at 3-1 and second place in the division, and it's all because of the LT, the left tackle of the NBL. How great has this guy been? And he's pretty much kind of a once-in-a-generation kind of offensive lineman here, protecting the blind side of Andrew Luck, the newly acquired quarterback, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the New Faces, New Places segment of the show for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This was a team that made a lot of moves in the offseason, and it seems like it's paying dividends for Tampa.
Yeah, I heard you talk about this on the draft, on how the evolution of drafting and stuff in the NBL has changed. You would never really see a team with a top 5 pick go left tackle, but we see all sorts of linemen go in the top 10, and it's such a great thing to see. There's a lot more balance in drafting now. And the Bucs did a beautiful thing. They went out, they got Andrew Luck, and what they did was with a top pick, they drafted a guy that's going to protect their quarterback. And Andrew Luck has only been sacked 9 times so far this season.
Did you say it was Andrew's Luck? That sounds like a TV show.
I almost thought I said Andrew Suck, but I
oh, wow.
That's not what I want to say, because he's actually having a really good season, and with the Bucs being 3-1, he's having that's the big difference between this year and last year, and he's got some protection up front. So I have nothing bad to say about Andrew Luck right now.
Yeah, you look at the offense, you want a team that can make plays. They're going to be growing. They're still not as talented offensively as they are defensively, primarily because they traded away their top wide receiver threat, and they brought in Justin Reed from the Houston Texans. How has that paid dividends for this team? It's all been positivity in Tampa. They are running high on their defensive performance so far. Their passing yards, they're 12th against the pass. They're 1st against the rush. They're 5th in total yards allowed. This team is a lockdown defense, and the offense will come together. They're going to get a little bit better. They're passing right now at 23rd, rushing at 31st. I don't like those numbers, but I think I see a lot of talent over here that's going to kind of just curve those numbers, soften them a bit. Rushing, I want to see it get into about 20 to 22nd, and then passing, I want to see them in between 13 to 17, and that's a winnable recipe for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if the defense can continue playing hot like they have been. But moving on, let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. Melvin Gordon included a bit more as the X Factor running back. He's averaging 4.7 yards a carry with 4 touchdowns, but he's only has a lousy 42 carries in NBL season 42. Perhaps some pressure of newly acquired quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo might be in the best interest of the Bolts. It's supposed to say perhaps taking some pressure off, but it says of newly acquired quarterback Jimmy G might be the best interest of the Bolts. I agree. You got to get more touches to Melvin Gordon here, but here's the issue. The more touches you give a guy like Melvin Gordon, and we've seen it happen to him throughout his NBL career, the more he goes down. So they're trying to find a nice rhythm, a nice balance, while also seeing what they have with Jimmy G at quarterback.
Yeah, I really like them with Jimmy G. And this is another situation, new quarterback, 2-3. I think that this is the kind of tough thing. They had some games here that I think next year they would win. If Jimmy G had a little bit of time in the system, they would win. I think they should beat the Redskins, the Bengals, and I think that it will get to that point. They have a lot of those games that are kind of in between. I'm not sure which way they'll go. So I'm not going to say that they're going to have a good season this year, but 2 seasons ago, this team was 9-7 with Phillip Rivers, a good quarterback. So that's where they want to get with Jimmy G. They've got a good defense. So they've got Melvin Gordon. As long as they keep him on the ground, and the big thing is healthy, then this team would be able to go back to those days of that 9-7, starting to creep into the playoff conversation.
Yeah, I agree. The Eagles and the Chargers have now confirmed a trade, and this was as of 8 hours ago. The Chargers will send halfback Austin Eckler to the Philadelphia Eagles for a second-round pick. Kind of surprising. Jordan Howard got into that superstar dev. We thought we'd see a little bit more of him in Philly, but it just hasn't really panned out, and maybe now they hit the panic button as they're going to bring in, I don't know who's the spell back here, but Eckler's got to fit into this crowded backfield, as Bleacher Report stated right there. Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders are on the roster. Now you bring in Austin Eckler. How does he fit in? Obviously, the passing game, right? That's where they're going to try to utilize him at. But is he someone that maybe becomes a 3-down back in Philly?
Yeah, I'm not really into getting multiple backs. So they really have to be kind of out on Howard and Sanders to give up a second-round pick. I think that Eckler's a good halfback, so I think that one thing that stands out is Eckler's a lot quicker than Howard and Sanders. So if that's the kind of scheme that the Eagles are going for, they are 7th in the rushing game. Their offense is 7th, so I'm not sure what they thought.
I'm thinking passing attack. I think Austin Eckler may be in the passing attack.
That passing attack's sad.
Yeah, it's not good. A couple of reactions in the chat. Reezy saying, "What are you thinking, Flair?" JB saying, "Miles Sanders just sitting there." Ric Flair in the chat saying, "It will work out." Todd says they got a good rookie as well. You singing it right now. Don't lie. I don't know what the hell Planet's talking about. All right, we're gonna move forward here, guys. Let's go. New faces in new places. My man Captain Planet. If you have not talked to Captain Planet in an Xbox chat, you are missing out. This is the coolest, smoothest dude I've ever been in a chat with. He will compliment you on your game even though he's not even watching it, and he'll be like, nice play, and I'll be like, dude, is somebody streaming this? Because how do you know what's going on? And he's like, well, it just sounded like you made a big play, and I was like, I did. And it's just that kind of vibe, man. Shout out to him. All right, let's go ahead and move forward. New faces and new places. First one we got coming up is going to be our guy right here. He looks like Dubes, but his name's Kirk Cousins. Age 33, 202 pounds, completion percentage this year 65, 946 yards, 8 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for the New York Giants. Are you surprised to see the New York Giants using Kirk Cousins over Daniel Jones, who was the starter the last 2 seasons? Kirk Cousins was just sitting in free agency asking for a crazy amount of money. I believe it was $9 million. What's he mean? Yeah, $9.95 million for the 33-year-old. What do you think about Cousins coming into the New York Giants and being able to contribute almost with 100 QBR? He hasn't been too bad.
He has not been too bad, but I have an issue with just the management of the entire thing because their defense is just terrible. They're giving up 34 points a game. So it's not an ideal situation. You got to get that fixed because that's putting a lot of pressure on your quarterback to go out and score every drive, which just as we've seen generally increases turnovers because the pressure is just too high. The next thing is we saw the Bengals give up a very high first-round pick for Will Grier, okay? If you weren't going to go with Daniel Jones, last season at 23 years old, you could have gotten something very nice for Daniel Jones.
Hold on, Bananas just got in the chat. Shout out to Bananas. I want to give a quick shout out to him because he traded for a bunch of bums from the Washington Redskins. It hasn't paid dividends to his defense. One of the worst defenses in the league against the pass because he has no pass rushers. He brought in a bunch of slugs from Washington, kind of got traped on that deal. Part 2 of this talk about Bananas is the fact that he missed on an opportunity to trade LeVeon Bell and get some quality value for him. Now the guy's going to be 30 next year. He's going to be trying to trade him, but guys, don't pay twice. Let him hit free agency. He can't afford him. All right, get back to the Kirk Cousins talk. Let's wrap it up with Kirk Cousins because I feel like I'm just staring at Dubes right now.
I was just going to say that exact same thing. But you could have traded Daniel Jones. You easily, 23 years old, you could have gotten a first-round pick, no doubt in my mind, and then you go out and you spend a bunch of money on a guy who's 33. He's going to start falling off immediately. And he's not even that good, so I'm just not sure about the management here. I would have been okay if it was a good quarterback, maybe if it was Goff, maybe if it was Andrew Luck, maybe if he made a big move to trade for Luck. But giving Cousins at 33 a bunch of money and letting Daniel Jones just sit there, that's an easy first-round pick. I mean, maybe even still at 24 years old. It just depends on who's in need. But last year, for sure, that could have been done. So the management here, I just got a lot of questions about. Just ground and pound with Saquon Barkley to the end of the season and then kind of reevaluate.
Yeah, but please take him off punt returner and kick returner. Because the last thing I want to do is hear about how he's injured, and it's because of that. Let's move forward. Andrew Luck last season, not a Colts logo there. Shout out to Project Fat. It's an NFC logo, but he was on the Indianapolis Colts. Look at his completion percentage. Let's compare and contrast so far. QBR, 115. Last year, 69.2. Passing yards, obviously, there's no equivalent there just yet. Averaging 10.2 yards a throw. Touchdown to interception ratio. He's on a complete turnaround. Andrew Luck has seen the psychiatrist, and he's doing wonders here because this guy's psyche is completely flipped inside out. He's feeling good about himself. The team's feeling good, but a positive touchdown to interception ratio, that's something we couldn't say about his time in Indianapolis. As last year he finished 14 touchdowns, 36 interceptions. What's going on with Andrew Luck, and why is he so much better in this offense?
Yeah, there was a big... There's just something in the Colts office changed, something in this coaching staff changed, because you don't go from 30 touchdowns, 16 interceptions to literally like flipping it to 14 and 36. It's just something turned sour there, and then they got him out. They got something for him, and then the Buccaneers took him. And this is one of the things that I'll always point out whenever I see a team that I think is making the right moves. They go out, get a left tackle, going to protect the quarterback, get the quarterback. Everything's going in the right direction. The next big move for the Buccaneers is they don't have a number one wide receiver, and that's going to help Andrew Luck tremendously next season because Josh Reynolds is not a number one receiver.
And who was the number one receiver that everybody was talking about before the draft started? It was Garrison Dale. This was the 6'4", 222-pound wide receiver out of South Carolina. He was the 6th pick in the NBL Season 42 rookie draft. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had pick 1 and pick 3. They passed on him both times. They instead went with Cherry, the outside linebacker, who's a phenomenal player. They went with the left tackle of the NBL. But Garrison Dale on the season, 10 catches, 139 yards, just 1 touchdown in 6 games played. In 5 games played, it seems like they kind of made the right choice, kind of wait until next year. Let's go ahead and move forward, see what we got here. Andrew Luck, balling in Tampa. But you know who else has been balling? It's this guy, Tyree Jackson, for the New England Patriots. Brady, who? Last year, we saw him struggle. Right now, he's posting a 151 QBR. 1,700 passing yards and 18 touchdown to 2 interception ratio. What is going on there? I mean, I want to give a lot of credit to these receivers. They're big targets that are creating separation. It was one of the questions we had. Brady was always throwing into guys with tiny windows. They're giving him big windows this season, and Tyree Jackson is flourishing in this offense. Right now, the New England Patriots undefeated, haven't lost yet. And they have just played tremendously, and you can even point back to week 1. They were down in a hole against the Houston Texans. They brought themselves back in the game by airing the ball out and trusting the strong arm of Tyree Jackson. Not only does he have the wheels to get it done, he's got the strong arm to get it done. And right now, it seems like he's just coming into his own. This guy might be a superstar X Factor in a season or so.
Yeah, and whenever we looked at this, the first thing that I thought was this guy, just because he doesn't really have a lot of talent whenever you just look at him, but in this scheme, it's completely different. The first thing I thought of was they really probably haven't played anybody. But then you dig a little deeper, you see the Texans in week 1, you see the Buccaneers, who have a pretty good defense in week 2. You got the Saints week 4, and even the Jaguars in week 5, who were a playoff team last year, the last 2 years, at least 2 of the last 3. So they've got some good defenses that they've been going against here. So it's not that case, and just playing incredibly well. You're absolutely right. This guy's going to be, developing extremely nice at 23 years old. And how could you not when you got, these receivers out here? But they did the same thing with Brady. Are you wondering if there's, Brady wasn't that special if you're looking at
all right, Jackson. All right, we're moving on. Get out of here. All right, rise or fall, we're moving on. Cleveland Browns, 11-5 last year. You see his picture on MaddenBomberLeague.com. Guy's been straight up balling with the Browns up until this season. It seems like it's back to reality. What do you think about the Cleveland Browns? Are they on the rise or on the fall as a franchise right now? Coming off another tough loss this week. This is not a team that you think is going to struggle against the Pittsburgh Steelers team, who's completely struggling, but they get blown out 35-10 here in week 6, and the Browns fall to a abysmal 1-4 on the season. I believe they got a bye week coming up, and then they take on the Houston Texans. Oh, no, they take on the Houston Texans in week 7, so they have a lot of rough road ahead of them. What's going on with Cleveland, rise or fall? I got them falling, probably to the bottom of the division. Where do you got them going?
Yeah, I kind of have them fighting in that 3 and 4 spot with the Bengals. And the big thing that stands out to me is that this team, the ownership here has a good history of playing really good defense. And you look, the total yards is 4th, but the total points is 25th. So that tells you they're turning the ball over a lot in a short field. They're not giving up the yards, but they are giving up the points a lot. And that's one thing that they've got to figure out, is how to not turn the ball over on offense, because it's hurting their defense. They've got 3 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Baker Mayfield is at a rate of 57.8. I mean, wow. I don't know if it goes much lower.
Just say QBR. It upsets Eddie, so we'll just say that. 58 QBR.
In that case, it's a 58 QBR.
It's just not good for Cleveland in any way right now. Myles Garrett was the only player at the end of the season that I really said, man, he had a really strong season. I think he willed that team to 11-5. It's the reason why he was talked about in the MVP discussion, because he was that good. And right now, even he cannot overcome the downfalls of this offense, which have been terrible so far. Let's go ahead and move on. We talked about Cleveland Browns already. It's time to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, led by Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma. Can he get it done here for this team? Are they rising? They falling 9-7? I'm going to say this. They're not rising and they're not falling. They are about a 9-7 as 9-7 can get. Anything 7-9 to 9-7, that's where you're going to find the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm in the exact same spot. Now look, they're 2-4, but they did play the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Seahawks, and it wasn't like they rolled over against the Seahawks. That was a 4-point loss. So this team 2-4, this is what we're talking about. The Seahawks could get very comfortable. They could end up winning. They could end up 9-7 or 10-6 because they get comfortable. And this team, this is the 9-7 team, just like you said, based off the teams that they beat, the teams that they lose against. It's going to be the same all the time.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where they're
well. Let's go through their schedule right here. So they got a bye next week. They're coming off a big win against the Packers. I think a must win if they have any playoff hopes right now. Seahawks 6-0. They're sitting at 2-4 Cardinals. Bye week next week. Then they got the Bears who are 2-3. That's a winnable game. That's kind of a must win game. Let's give them the dub. They're 3-4. They got the Niners. Niners have been playing people strong, but they got to win that game. They can't afford to lose that game to that team. So it's going to be 4-4 now for them. They're playing the Jaguars, struggling team. Say they win that one, they go to 5-4. Okay, now they're getting on that little run we talked about. Then week 11, they're going to play the Colts, who are just terrible. Now they're 6-4. Now, how many games has Seattle dropped between this time? Maybe pressure's getting to the Seahawks. You don't know. Week 12 versus the Texans, back to reality for the Cardinals, 50-0. They end up losing that game, 6-6. Now they play the Vikings. This is a winnable game for them as well. So that's going to put them at 7-6. Lions, winnable game, 8-6. Seahawks, you got to win that game if you want to stay alive, 9-6. Rams, they can win, 10-6. And then Cardinals, somehow they played 17 games. I got confused on the thing. I think it's 10-6 though. I think this team legitimately could go 10-6 this season. I think they only have really one loss in front of them, and it could be 3 or 4 losses. But if they get hot and get comfortable like you're talking about, and they go on one of those late season runs that we've seen Tout do before, they could be 10-6, and that, I don't know with the team already being 6-0. They have to finish 4-6 the rest of the year for you to have a chance, right?
That's why I've pulled up their schedule, and you see they've got this is the Seahawks schedule. They've got the Colts next week, so they're going to be 7-0. But on their remaining schedule, they have the Texans, the Vikings, the Titans, the Jaguars, the 49ers, all in a row. That's in a row. So they could drop 3 of those games. And then the last 4, they've got the Rams. They play the Cardinals week 15. That's a big week. And then they finish up with the 49ers and the Packers. So we could see this team be hot, 7-0, going in the bye, not be on the field for an extended period of time because of the bye week, and then come back against the Texans. They could get their world rocked, and then they could just kind of get that in that weird space where you haven't played a little bit. If you take a big loss against the Texans, then you come back against the Vikings. What's that?
Like a 50-0.
Yeah,
maybe.
like a 50.
That might really just have them so just off kilter.
So then they start to beat themselves against the Vikings, the Titans, the Jags, and it creeps in, and that's how we get this week 15 for the division. That's how that division always plays out.
All right, I'm changing my opinion. Cardinals on the rise. They're taking this division. Let's go. Let's go. Some red blood in there for the Arizona Cardinals. Let's move forward. Miami Dolphins. I just played them 9-7 last year. This team is looking terrible. This is a terrible team in the AFC East. They already have tough competition inside their division, and they're giving up nearly 50 points a game. They gave up nearly 50 points to the Tennessee Titans. Are you kidding me? The Miami Dolphins are pathetic. They have no defense, and when you can't play defense, you can't win in the NBL. 9-7, that was a great year. Put it up in the banner. Say 1 year we were 9-7 over 500, because this year you're going to win 2 to 3 games.
Yeah, we are on the same page with this, and as I'm going to take this moment on a live broadcast to just say to that staff, They got to stop cover zero blitzing so much. That's how they're in this position. They are way too aggressive in extremely obvious situations, and that's how you allow 32 points per game, 377 yards per game, 331 of that coming through the air. That's just quick reads. Everybody's going to be coming. You've got a guy in a slant or drag. There's one guy. He's 2 or 3
and
steps
even when
behind
he's
the receiver,
in drop
he's not
coverage,
getting tackled.
even when he's in drop coverage, you'll just notice they get really aggressive at the line. They put everybody in the box. So then they're scattering like ants to try to protect over the top, but by then it's too late. Why? Because you got Mike Evans on one side, you got D-Hop on another. They're both going down the field, and guess what? Mike Evans already has double me on. Why are you doing this? You're not even doubling them. Catch, catch, catch. Next thing you know, 300 yards, domination station. And that was just one game example there. But yeah, the Miami Dolphins on the decline. I'd say they get the 4 wins this year. I say they'll probably end up being 4-12. I just looked at their schedule, maybe even 5-11. But they're going to be a far stretch from 9-7. And even Nemo in the chat put right now 32 points per game. Gosh, Hunk, you got to be better than that. And I completely agree.
Yeah, the big thing with them is Kareem Hunt. 1 touchdown on the season. He had 13 last year.
Wow.
What are they doing?
And he's got jukebox, man. I saw it like 1,000 times.
Insane.
All right, rise and fall here. We're talking about the New York Jets. They finished 10-6 last year. Right now, they're sitting pretty. I think they're about at, 4-1 through 5 weeks right now? Yeah, they are through 5 games. I like the New York Jets. Can't stand bananas, so I'm torn here. Do I want to go rise because I like the Jets and the gang green, or do I want to go fall because I can't stand this bananas guy? But I'm going to go, I think they get to 11. Is that really a rise, though?
Technically. It's not a division rise.
I say this, stay the same. I got them even kill. I mean, one more game. If they don't take the division, that's a rise. I don't think this team gets to a 13-3 ever. I don't think they do a 13-3 season. I don't think they really do a 12-4 season. I think they're 11-5. 10-6, you can pretty much book it in. That's where they're going to be. But right now, the New York Jets are looking good. I like this team. Now, when you get into the tournament, the playoffs, all bets are off. I think this team can get it done and go on a nice little run. But I just don't think they have the consistency on the offensive end to beat a team like the New England Patriots and win that division. And that makes all your games on the road in the playoffs, and that makes it a much tougher road.
Yeah, so this Jets team, they're flashy. They've got a lot of big plays. They've got a lot of flashy, exciting, cool moving parts. But that stuff doesn't work in the playoffs. And that stuff doesn't work against the Patriots whenever you're trying to win a division. You've seen the Patriots. They're going to beat you by throwing 4-yard passes to the flat, to the tight end right in the middle of the field. They're just going to, every little tiny play, that's how they're going to beat you. And that's not going to work. The Jets, they're trying to go 15, 25 yards down the field. The Patriots are all over that. And talk about a rise. This is an ownership that's got Super Bowl history. So to really get the rise, they've got to get a division. And with Tom Brady leaving and Jackson just being so dominant, this is not playing out like I thought. I thought this would be the exact year that the Jets would start to take over, and it's not happening. But like I said, the fantasy points, the flash, the stats, the Jets got it, but they don't have it to translate to those big wins. The only way that they get to 13 wins like you were talking about is if they play a really weak division in the AFC and the NFC. But the problem is the Patriots are going to win 14 or 15 games that season, so I don't see a rise for the Jets for me.
Yeah, you look at this New York Jets team versus the Patriots, it's just oil and water at this point because the Jets are a team that wants to drive the ball down the field. They want to be aggressive, and when you become aggressive like that, you're going to have mistakes. And against the Patriots, you have to play mistake-free football and really create some turnovers on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think they can overcome that consistently to take the division. That's why I got them staying right where they're at. 10-6, 11-5. That's the final verdict. We don't got them rising or falling. They're just going to be steady balling throughout the cycle, and that's what I expect from the New York Jets. All right, moving forward, let's see what we got here. Oh, we got some NFC East, AFC East predictions here from the Bleacher Report. You guys saw this early in the year. We talked about this a little bit. NFC East. Let's roll with that on the screen. Lip. We got 12-5 Cowboys, 9-7 Giants, 8-8 Redskins, 7-9 Eagles. Anything jump off here as being incorrect?
No, I think that's a Cowboys division. That's just how it's going to be. Well, I mean.
Oh, you just did that. You just did that. You just did that chick that does that. Well, nah. You know what I'm talking about?
Hey.
Do you know that? Do you know that GIF? Somebody put that GIF in the group me. Lip doesn't know what I'm talking about here. It's that chick. She goes, well, she's like, no. Well.
Oh, okay. I do know. Yeah, I do know.
Yeah, she's pretty funny. She's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that whole moment for me was looking at the 4-1 Eagles with Austin Eckler coming to town, and if that passing game improves, well, you might see it, but I still think it's Cowboys division.
So you think Austin Eckler is going to propel the team that got the lowest grade, the Eagles at 7-9, to jump past the 12-4 Cowboys?
It's.
I think the Redskins are. I think the only thing they got wrong here is the Redskins are obviously going to be second in that division, in my opinion. I think the Redskins are trending up right here. I think they're trending more towards a 9-7 kind of franchise. If you've taken the second part of last season and you've looked at them this year, what are they sitting at right now? The Washington Redskins are sitting at 3-2. This is a team that can get it done, and they can win games against tough opponents, and they can hang in there and make themselves a big play away from stealing a game. So I have them kind of on the rise, but it's the Cowboys division. AFC East, we talked about that already. We had the Patriots. They have them at 14-2. Jets at 12-4. I say Jets 11-5, 10-6. That's kind of where I see them. And the Patriots 14-2. I definitely could see that, even 15-1 right now. They've been straight up balling. Let's go ahead and move forward, though. I'm going to try that one more time. All right, here we go. NFC North, AFC North. Let's start with the Vikings, Packers, Bears. Here it goes as follows. Vikings 11-5, Packers 10-6. Packers struggling right now. Bears 8-8. Lowly Lions 4-12. Anything jump off the screen at you with those predictions, Lip?
If I was making predictions, that's where I would be, because I thought the Vikings. I thought very highly of the Vikings the last two seasons, but right now everybody's right in the middle. The thing that jumps out to me is that the Detroit Lions. If they're picked at 4 wins, is that what you said? 4-12.
Yeah, Lions 4-12.
I mean, they're at 3-2, and that everybody picked on that strategy that they had out there. But right now, they're right in it for that division. So you could see the Lions back in the playoffs. But I still think that something's up with the Vikings. I don't like it. I don't know what it is. It kind of upsets me because I think that's a good team. But I honestly think the Packers squeak out this division because I think that they might be the best team whenever it comes to playing teams that are similar to them. I think that they'll edge out more wins. So
they just lost to Touts Cardinals. I mean, this is a team on. This might be the year the Lions jump out, and I would usually say the Bears, but the Bears are struggling to put up points still. They're just struggling across the board. They just lost 6-0 versus Seattle Seahawks, so I'm not too impressed about the Chicago Bears, and it's definitely not a team I want to hang my hat on. AFC North, Ravens 12-4, and they're undefeated right now. Browns 8-8, Steelers 8-8, Bengals 5-11. I got the Browns around 5-11. I say the Ravens probably finish 14-2. They're playing a second place schedule, so it's a little bit easier for them on that front. I'd say 14-2, 15-1 for the Baltimore Ravens, and I'd say second place in that division. I'm going with the Steelers. They got their first victory today. They're feeling good. Here's a little fun fact about Porter. I want you to go ahead and go to the Steelers NBL Daddy Leagues page and click on old Frank's suite for me, if you will. Let me know when you're there. Now I want you to go to game logs.
We're evaluating.
Go to game logs, and I just want you to read this out. I want you to read out his quarterback rating for every game in order, chronological order from week 1 till now. Just go ahead and do that for me. Yeah, go ahead.
88, 70, 41, 80, 23, 129.
So, out of all those terrible, low, really low QBRs, Porter was in the chat today asking, hey, man, is there a way we can get upgrades on quarterbacks? I was like, dude, you had one good game. You think that should give you a dev bump? You've played terrible. And quarterbacks mainly have to be earned at the end of the year. So Porter has really zero chance with that. But I do got him finishing second in the division. But I thought it was kind of timely that the dude finally gets over a 120 QBR. And he's in the chat asking about, hey, how do we dev bump these quarterbacks for us here?
Yeah, I mean that they have the division winner Easy. It's the Ravens. I really like the Ravens this year, and I want to say, I'm trying to find it to see if okay, right here, Lamar Jackson, big runner, right? This year, only 78 yards rushing, and that's exciting to me because instead of trying to run, he's really throwing the ball. He's throwing the ball extremely well. 3 touchdowns. He's had great seasons on the ground before, but he's really starting to throw the ball. He's throwing the ball really well. So this is a team that's starting to shape into that playoff, dominating playoff team, I think, and potentially Super Bowl team because of the way Lamar Jackson's playing. The one thing I do want to say about that division is I don't know. There were some teams in there. There was 2 teams that were going to be 8-8 on their predictions. I don't know if the other 3 teams combined win 8 games the way that they're all playing so far this year.
I got faith in my man Porter getting to at least 6 wins this season. All right, NFC South, Panthers 13-3, Falcons 12-4, Bucks 7-9, Saints 5-11. That's for the NFC South. I got the Bucks going way up. I got them pushing for a wild card spot. I think the Panthers probably win 14 games. The Falcons have been so up and down, you just can't trust them right now, right? So that seems like an 11-5 kind of bananas team to me.
They're lost without Julio.
Yeah, and then
I'm telling you.
Then the Bucks, I'd say about 10 wins for them, 10-6. I could even see them falling 9-7 or even pushing 11-5. But I think they're going to be right there in that wild card push. And Saints probably going to win 3 games this year. I've looked at their schedule; it's not easy. So anything? Am I wrong about anything there, or is Bleacher Report wrong? What are you seeing?
No, I think this is right, except for the Bucks. The Bucks they're building they're following the blueprint very well. I think they're gonna be at 500 at the very worst. I really do think they're gonna be above 500, pushing for a wild card spot. Falcons are a little bit better than them, but this is the Panthers division. Falcons are somewhere a game or 2 behind them, and then the Bucks are right behind the Falcons. I think it's a very good division. We said this on Team Selection Day. This is going to be a very competitive division, and it's kind of playing out as the teams are building. We're seeing that kind of play out now.
All right, AFC South, Texans 14-2, Jaguars 10-6, Titans 9-7, Colts 4-12, and I hate to say this, but Jaguars, Titans, Colts are playing terribly right now. Each team has 4 losses or more, and we've only played 6 games. So I'm looking at this so far, and I'm thinking, I don't see the Jaguars getting to 10 wins. I don't see the Titans getting close to 10 wins. What's going on with this team? Or those 2 teams?
Yeah, and we can go back to, I want to say the very first episode of this cycle for you and I. I was so excited about the Titans and Marcus Mariota, and just nothing has come out of there. Nothing has come out of Tennessee that I could really be excited about. But and it's the thing, Marcus Mariota is playing okay, but I think that he could play at a much higher level. That he does really good against the teams he should. He plays very poor against the teams that you need him to beat. And they're just kind of in that weird, always going to be just missing the playoffs, not really in it, and just something's wrong there, and it kind of breaks my heart because I thought that was going to be a great player this cycle. And the Jaguars, I don't really know what's going on. They usually struggle on offense, but this year they're struggling on defense. 27th in total yards, 28th in points. It's just a lot of bad things going on in Jacksonville right now.
They are a second half team, though. They're one of those teams kind of like Tot. They can get hot at the end of the season and kind of slide into the playoffs. We saw them do it in NBL season 41, maybe 42 is much of the same. NFC West, 8-8 Cardinals, 8-8 Seahawks, 5-11 Niners, 4-12 Rams. I actually got the Niners doing a lot better than 5-11. That's a tough team over there, and they just got a big win against the Redskins and the Texans. I went to sleep on the San Francisco 49ers getting a lot closer to 500, maybe even surpassing it. They're still in the division hunt as well. The Cardinals, I got them right around there. The Seahawks, I think they're going to win 10 games this year, be 10-6. Cardinals will have to go on a run to get there. Am I wrong about anything there? Rams are probably looking like the worst team in the division right now.
Yeah, I think you're right on with that. I think that they've got this pretty much figured out. Somewhere in that 8, 9, maybe 10 wins is going to be the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I think right behind them, a game or 2 behind them, is going to be the 49ers, and we're going to see those 3 teams battle, next season as well. even this season, the 49ers could really shake things up because they're absolutely capable of beating both of those teams. And the Rams, they just got to figure out what they're doing, and they got to start rebuilding. But I think that they got this so far. The 49ers could use a little bump, but those three teams are going to be battling for that division for sure.
All right, the AFC West, the Chiefs 12-4, Chargers 8-8, 5-11, Broncos 2-14, Raiders. I think you switched the Raiders and Broncos, and the Chiefs, I'd probably put them up to 14 wins. I think 12 is just really a little low. Definitely, I'd give it a game, maybe 2. And the Chargers at 8-8. I could actually see them getting to 8-8. I probably have the Raiders sitting at about 4-12. The Broncos looks like they're going to probably be 2-14 on my radar, and that's just my opinion. Lip, where am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. The Chargers somewhere, and even Chargers, I think that they're going to, I would say probably 5 or 6 wins this year. But like I said earlier, they get their stuff together next year because they did it with Phillip Rivers. I think they can do it again and get to 9 or 10 wins and start. They'll be in that conversation for that last wild card spot at some point. I really do think that they're capable of that.
All right, that's going to do it for the Bleacher Report predictions. Follow along and see how, how right they were or how wrong they were. Those are always the questions that we have as we move forward with the show. We're going to go right into Crossfire here. We're going to keep it short, just 3 minutes here on Crossfire. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, put them in the chat right now, and that's going to do it to close out our show. MBL Crossfire Lip, see if you can get us a question or two. Yeah, Ron Walters has been a great piece for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's allowing them to kind of spread the ball on the outsides at the wide receiver positions. But we saw it towards the end of last year. And I'm not going to have Lip respond. Obviously, this is about his own team. But we saw it with the injury to Sammy Watkins. Michael Gallup came in, and you saw the offense already starting to change. Travis Kelce obviously getting a little bit older, but they're also getting a little bit more versatile at the wide receiver position. And then when Watkins came back, he fit right into that Gallup role, which Gallup was balling for them. And now they have Ron Walters, Michael Gallup, and Tyreek Hill along with Travis Kelce. A lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball in the passing attack for the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah, I like the rookie draft pick. They moved up to 13 to pick him up, so that was good. Game Master, we've played, this is our 3rd season. We played a lot of games within the division. Who's y'all's rookie of the year so far? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm not informed enough on everybody, but I do want to check out what Cherry's doing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've talked about the Bucs a lot. Let's see if he's getting any stats at the outside linebacker position for this team. Nope, just 4 tackles, no sacks, nothing. Marcus Cherry. So 3rd overall pick out of Notre Dame. Got some pass deflections and coverage. Oh, he's a coverage linebacker, that's right. Yeah, so he's already got like 5-6 pass deflections. That's pretty good for the outside linebacker position. What trade has been the biggest surprise this season? Lip, you got any trades that have been the biggest surprise?
I don't know. Surprise. I was kind of surprised to see the whole Andrew Luck trade go down, just because now the Colts just have absolutely no direction. You see them at they haven't won a game, 0-5 this year. It was kind of surprising for me because it was kind of weird. And I don't know if this was a serious thing or not, but they had some players that they traded for. They were looking to trade them, then they weren't, and they moved Andrew Luck, and that was the surprise for me. But on the opposite end for the Bucs, it was a great move, absolutely, but I just didn't think that the Colts would give away their only piece on offense. Well, they gave away T.Y. Hilton, and then they gave away Luck. They really have nothing on offense, so I got a lot of questions about what they're doing. I got a lot of questions about Brad putting John Ross on the block when we all know good and well he's not going to trade that guy, and he's a terrible trader to deal with. So, guys, buyer beware there. Voted by all league owners is the worst.
He was voted almost, I want to say unanimously, but super majority. It was like 80% of the people that voted were like, yeah, dealing with Brad was terrible. And I can say I've had my own run-ins with Dad. Brad, yep. Whoa, Brad's your dad? No. But I've tried to trade with him, and it's just terrible. It's like he messages me about a player, and then I'm the one putting out all these suggestions on what maybe we could do, and he's just shooting them down with no, like, return of a message that says, hey, well, what about this guy? He doesn't even go anywhere. He just like sits there. It's like almost like I'm in his office now, even though he came to my office. It's a very weird changing of roles once you get into a trade negotiation with Brad. It's pretty terrible. I'm sure most of you guys can relate. But that's going to do it for Commissioner Corner Podcast episode number 67. We'll see you in a few weeks back here on this channel. Don't forget, Time Out with Gibbs, new podcast coming up. Lip, excited about that? It's going to be audio only. It's going to be something you can listen to while you're on the toilet, taking a shower, on a drive. Just something you can put in your ear and listen to some NBL stuff. It'll probably be 15 to 20 minutes long. Gibbs is going to get one of those episodes out here shortly. So I hope you guys are excited about that. It's Time Out with Gibbs. It'll be right here on our YouTube channel. But that's it for the show. Lip, any last words?
No, thanks everybody for stopping by, listening to us talk about what's going on in NBL. We're going to see how we fare with these rise and fall guys, and just I appreciate everybody coming out and listening to Commissioner Corner Podcast. And
shout out to Draco, Jay Cutler, best quarterback for the Chicago Bears of all time, maybe best NFC North quarterback NFL of all time. Yeah, I said it here. You heard it on Commissioner Corner Podcast. But right now, we're done. We're out. We'll see you next time. Catch you guys in the group me chat.
Bye.